Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Ryan Schmelz, in for Tanisha Johnson. President Biden condemning Vladimir Putin's invasion on Ukraine, saying he can't remain in power. We'll have the very latest from the region just ahead. And supporting Ukraine as the conflict continues on. The Ohio Church giving gear and supplies to soldiers fighting in the war. And later this hour, restaurants struggling to hire. While the workers exist, they may not hold the skills to work in certain kitchens. We hear from a fine dining restaurant on how it's striving to fill the need. President Joe Biden says the war in Ukraine will not end soon, but he's confident democracy will ultimately prevail. He wrapped up a 3-day trip to Europe with a speech in Poland tying this conflict to the historical struggle against tyranny. Our Washington correspondent Taylor Popolars has been traveling with the president and has a recap of his visit. 10 more evacuation corridors open in Ukraine Saturday. Ukrainian leaders agreed on corridors in the Kyiv, Luhansk, and Donetsk regions to help people leave places taken by Russians. As the war in Ukraine continues, a group from one Cleveland Baptist church is set to leave for the country later today to take gear and supplies to soldiers. Our Shannon McNeil has the story. Meteorologist Andrew Kozak joining us now, and this has been a very inconsistent month. You get spring one minute, then winter the next. What are we expecting in the future?
More of that, actually. But we're in the winter right now with accumulating snow for parts of the state, Ryan. We're also talking about 60s, if not 70s, and one or two people may be near 80 by the middle of next week. I know we're all over the place with weather, so it's my job to spell it out. We'll start to talk about it when we come back with your weather on the one.
Well, good news, spring is hopefully finally here, and hopefully it'll stick around for a little bit longer.
Here's hope.
Yeah, exactly. More news as well after the break. Meteorologist Andrew Kozak joining us, and I swear I did not message you on Instagram or call you today and tell you to wear purple like I did.
It's a popular color. I mean, hey, listen, on our radar maps that indicate some winter precipitation. Maybe we wore it in celebration of today.
And hopefully that's the last time we'll see that purple on the radar for some time.
I don't know about that. It is Ohio. But listen, we are anticipating the winter weather to come to an end, and not only warmer weather, but even 70s to move across parts of the state as we head into next week. So we've got a lot to talk about. I'll spell it out all for you with your coming up weather on the one.
And hopefully that means we're going to stick with spring for at least an extended period of time.
That is the plan.
Yeah. More news as well after the break. Now, Erin Carroll is joining us, and what a tremendous opportunity this is. And when we talk about, creating more opportunities for those with developmental disabilities, this is a great example because it gives them motivation. It also gives them competition. I think that goes a long way to helping them out.
They're going to have so much fun in Disney. They're going to have a great time. Good for them.
Absolutely. And I couldn't help but notice that name they've got, the Storm Twisters.
I love it.
We're not seeing as extreme of weather as that, but it has been a little bit of the March Madness fit for us.
Exactly. Things are unexpected in basketball and in the weather this week. We've got ups and downs in that extended forecast. A lot of people looking for a big warm-up. I'll let you know when coming up in your Weather on the Ones.
And we also got your latest headlines after the break. Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Ryan Schmelz, filling in for Tanisha Johnson. We have the latest on that story coming up. Plus, the Ohio Redistricting Commission working on their 4th set of legislative maps, the progress they're making as the next deadline approaches. And promoting the importance of voting on campus, one historically black college discussing the upcoming senatorial and gubernatorial debates. One of Ukraine's 2 breakaway regions plans to vote on whether it should become part of Russia. The so-called Luhansk People's Republic leader expects the vote to go in favor because, quote, people are tired of living under constant shelling. Luhansk and Donetsk emerged as separatist regions in 2014 after Russia annexed Crimea and Ukraine's pro-Moscow president was ousted. Russian President Vladimir Putin recognized its independence the day before troops invaded Ukraine. Russia's invasion has displaced millions of Ukrainians who are now seeking temporary shelter in cities across the world. To help them find safe places to rest, a new website called Ukraine Takes Shelter hopes to help match them with willing hosts across the world, including dozens in Ohio. Spectrum News 1's Michelle Alfini spoke with one Cincinnati man opening up his home and hopes he can help at least one person find a safe place to stay. There is now one day until the deadline for the Ohio Redistricting Commission to adopt new state legislative district maps. Commission members met in person last night with the independent map makers joining virtually. The map makers asked the commission for direction on drawing incumbent districts. They raised questions about the compactness and what the margin is for a, quote, safe district. The commission was unable to come up with the answers for the map makers, asking the mediator to step in. Eventually, the commission asked the map makers to continue working on the draft maps with no questions being clearly answered. Co-chair and Senator Vernon Sykes still believes the commission is on schedule to meet its Monday deadline. Tomorrow, the Ohio senatorial and gubernatorial candidates will take center stage for a series of debates. Those debates will be hosted for the first time at Central State University, one of Ohio's historically black colleges. The students shared their excitement for this opportunity during a panel discussion for the upcoming Spectrum News Town Hall segment. Our Spectrum News 1 reporter Camry Nelson shares with us some of the reactions from those students and staff.
Hundreds marched down Lexington Avenue, chanting and locking arms, hoping to inspire change in this community.
Well, Curtis, it's been a really frustrating experience for a lot of the teachers, and you can actually see here behind me, there's a significant number of teachers holding signs demanding support. This has been heartbreaking for so many people in this community, and if you look behind me, you can actually see a police cruiser covered in ribbons as well as flowers.
Now, this used to be the roof to a storage building until high winds tore it off and sent it flying. Mail delivery has been sluggish in some cases. And leaders hope postal service reform will lead to smoother delivery times. Are you sure? Because I saw you and your mom running routes earlier. You were doing that for about 2 hours, so I think you're a little tired.
No.
Okay. He's confident. Let's go. All right, we got the starting line right here. All right, get behind the white. No cheating. Fans packed inside Progressive Field for opening day, but it wasn't just baseball, because right down the street at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, the Cavaliers were playing in the team's first postseason game since LeBron James left. Broadway Slavic Village is one of the oldest neighborhoods in Cleveland. But during the 2008 housing crisis, it was considered and sometimes unfairly called ground zero for foreclosures. But many still have hope.
And we're doing everything we can to engage, unite, and bring it back. This is really just counterproductive to all the work we've been doing within the last few years.
Sharina Zayed has lived in the neighborhood for 6 years and runs North Broadway Network Leaders. As a community advocate, she's plenty aware of the problems.
I had somebody break into my house while I was there in 2018. I lost my son, my 15-year-old son, to gun violence. There's been a lot. We don't need anything else. We just don't need anything else. I don't know if this neighborhood could survive another hard hit.
She says those living here have heard that the county is considering a lot in the area for the new county jail. The county hasn't released an official list of potential locations yet, but Zayed isn't happy her neighborhood might be on the list.
And honestly, I just don't want it here. I don't want to live 2 blocks away from a jail. I just don't. When I purchased my home, there was no jail. I would like to keep it that way. And I think it's necessary. We definitely need it, but I don't understand why it has to be so far away from the judges anyway.
She took us out to what she believes is the proposed lot.
We're told this is the area the jail would be built in, and if I take a step off and you look down the street, you can actually see construction for that housing development just down the street a few blocks away.
I didn't realize it was this close. It's very disturbing. It's just actually being here, seeing how close it is to my house. Like, I can't believe it, but it's total, like, I can't see anybody wanting to move in those apartments, it being that close.
Earl Pike is the executive director of University Settlement, which provides services to those in Broadway Slavic Village. He says the lack of community input isn't the only concern, but also what the jail would do to the neighborhood with the incarcerated being released back into the neighborhood and added traffic.
The problem is not returning citizens. The problem is returning them without any plan for how that's going to work. So you can't just build a jail 4 or 5 blocks from here, release prisoners all the time, have no real plan for how that's going to work in the context of the community, add traffic patterns, and add jobs that aren't necessarily the kind of jobs that we need to really build a community and claim that successful.
And those who'd be impacted like Zayed will continue to advocate to keep the jail out of her neighborhood.
There are places that it can go that it won't affect residential areas. We're not trying to say that. We're not trying to make our problem someone else's. Like, put it where it won't affect people and how they live their life.
A possible solution to a major problem that isn't quite sitting right with those who might be impacted. Ryan Schmelz, Spectrum News. After 25 years as an air traffic controller, Navy veteran Kurt Hernan decided to turn his hobby into a job.
We just did a couple pop-up events at a bar in downtown Lorain, and they were well attended, and we saw that there was there was an audience for it here.
He moved to Lorain about 30 years ago and started Speak of the Devil with his wife. It's a cocktail bar in downtown Lorain, a place he says has come a long way in recent years.
It's unrecognizable, to be honest. I mean, the sidewalks were a mess. Most of these buildings were empty. It's a drastic change, and it's for the better.
But that progress faced a major roadblock when COVID hit the restaurant industry.
We kind of changed how we operated, moved to bar snacks, stretched everyone out in here, and masked up for most of the year. It wasn't easy, it wasn't fun, but you had to figure out ways to be nimble and figure out ways to survive.
Hernan took advantage of government relief funds to help pay for PPE and get some money. But when the American Rescue Plan became law, a series of lawsuits got in the way.
Essentially what the judge did was just eliminated us from the process and let everyone else be funded.
The American Rescue Plan's Restaurant Relief Fund from the Small Business Administration prioritized veteran, women, and minority-owned businesses during the application process. Hernan's business fits two of the criteria, but lawsuits in Texas and Tennessee over the prioritization stopped the funds from coming to his business.
It was extremely frustrating just because, it took us out of the process. I mean, when the lawsuits basically froze the priority applicants out of the process, it hurts. And you're like, wow.
The Small Business Administration tells us applicants for the RRF qualified for over $70 billion in total relief, but only about $28 billion was available in the fund.
Right off the get-go, we were going to be, only about a third of those who needed the money were going to get it.
John Barker with the Ohio Restaurant Association says the Restaurant Relief Fund had tight qualifications, mainly significant losses to your business in 2020. So when priority applicants went back into that large pool of applicants, many missed out.
It put everybody back into the hopper unless you were already granted the money, because it seems like some people were already granted the money, but others that were in that process were told that they were going to get the grant, and then it was pulled back.
And as Hernan and his business continue to navigate through the pandemic, he hopes Congress will act to help those seemingly left behind.
They know exactly how many applicants there were, and they know exactly how much money they need to fund everybody, which would seem, fair and equitable to me at this point.
A situation that initially gave many a reason for optimism now leaves them asking for more.
Mailman Sonny is telling the story of community and spreading positivity.
As a mail carrier for 6 years, Sonny Workman has gotten to know the streets of Fremont like the back of his hand.
I'll be out to eat for dinner or at a party or something like that, and somebody will say their name, and I was like, hey, 1521, Oakbon, that's where you live.
After almost 30 years in a different career, Workman's mail carrier sister introduced him to a new profession that fit him like a glove.
I love being outside, being a runner, athletic person, so I thought I wouldn't mind the elements, the rain, the snow, and all that, and so I thought it really fit me, and I love talking to people.
All right.
While he loves his job, he couldn't help but notice the negative headlines towards the Postal Service, and Sonny wasn't just going to ignore it.
What's something I can do to change that perception? We all can perform on our own platform, and I believe one person can change the world, so I'm just going to do what I can do. And I thought I could either sit back and just let it happen or do something about it. So I started writing the books. Hey, there's Little B.
So inside this downtown Fremont store, Sonny shows off how he got to writing.
I've always, loved just drawing and writing stuff. And so, yeah, I just kind of felt it, came together.
Workman began writing children's books called Mailman Sonny, starring himself and featuring characters inspired by members of his family and community.
These are some of the restaurants that I stopped to. Breakfast, they're at Whitey's. Tim's always has a good burger. Hey, my buddy.
Today, Sunny is welcoming families to sign autographs,
There you go, here we go.
take pictures, and read to the kids.
We are all a part of a place, a community, right? Follow Mailman Sunny as he delivers his mail. There's Larry and that squirrel with the big tail.
Janae and Jermel are some of his loyal customers.
My favorite part about it is the pictures.
The venture is a family affair. Workman enlisted the help of his daughter Courtney, a kindergarten teacher who helps out with proofreading and spreading Mailman Sunny's positive message.
I hope that they learn the joy of reading and just to get out there and get to know their community better than what they think they know.
And as Sunny continues to tell stories of hometowns like Fremont, he hopes that the mail carrier's adventures inspire the next generation.
That every community has, there's great people there on every street, every corner, every house. There's a good story, and that's hoping that we're going to bring out and maybe inspire some kids to, be an attorney, a doctor, dentist, or maybe even a mail carrier.
A mail carrier, not just delivering mail, but valuable life lessons. Ryan Schmelz, Spectrum News.